says, get the fuck up, throw your hands in the sky. The brothers in the back shooting trash now, what's up? Committee pity the fool that act shitty in the midst of the calm, the witty. New Jerusalem, get the fuck up. Shaolin, get the fuck up. Long Isle, get the fuck up. Worldwide, get the fuck up.
Kind of like just talking, and all of a sudden we just started to geek out into a real serious geekgasm, you know? Geekgasm? I had a geekgasm.
Fade in.
Fade in, cut, yeah, right, we all know about film. Alright, so once again, the Geektasm has returned. And then we got three brothers in the house, including Colin. But like, the token. Yeah. All right. So what we had decided to do is that we said, all right. So what topics are we going to cover? You know, because we always seem to kind of like go in the past and rarely in the present. But we did say, you know what, a good period that we all kind of agreed was a nice period was '80s action.
That's bang well.
I was going to say, me and Matt were just talking about 60s Polish animation.
60s Polish animation.
Which we may go with next.
Yeah, well, that's up to you.
That's the 4-hour special.
4-hour special. So 80s action, I kind of like I said earlier though, I mean 80s, 90s, I mean, would people really much know the difference? But, you know, Colin seemed to be dead set that people wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah. Well, it's like a golden era without painting too much of a rose-coloured picture on the whole thing. But there definitely was like an action vibe, circa 83 to say 87, 88.
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
Well, I mean, like, so what do you think that is? Because I know that this past week you've been going on about Golden Globus and Canning Group and everything else like that, which are clearly earmarked for 80s action. So what would you say defines the difference between 80s action and 90s action or 80s action?
I think it's better going from 80s action defining from 70s.
From 70s action, yeah. I mean, let's
It changed.
Yeah, there was a huge change where the idea of an action movie simply didn't exist. What we had were action thrillers, and it was still much more about storyline and character and whatnot. Whether that was Charles Bronson and he's got 24 hours to clear the name of XYZ and do this movie or that movie. But you would never think of them as, oh, just the action. Oh, did you see that bit where he went crash bang or whatever?
Well, is that because of the blockbuster of Jaws in '76?
No, not really.
Is that when it just started to get bigger? Because when you talk about Charles Bronson, like Death Wish, Telephone, and all of that, you know, it was an action, but it wasn't like.
You just had the odd car chase,
I mean, even further back. I mean, you know, people talk about people will say
7-Ups for me.
But both of those really, they kind of like they had maybe one standalone sequence.
Yeah. Which is great.
Which is great.
You got to sit through 2 hours of whatever just for the car chase.
I mean, okay, it's a cliche.
Serpico didn't even have a car chase.
Indeed. And a beard.
What a beard.
Yeah, what a beard.
But, you know, I mean, really the granddaddy is, and it's a cliche as I said before, it's James Bond. It's James Bond. Because without Dr. No, the first 3 movies, without those first 3 movies setting the precedent, still to this day, with, you know, in terms of action sequences, etc., it set the benchmark. It really, really did.
That's true.
You know, we've gone from just having, like you said, that you had a great sequence, the story was intriguing, but then they had a really good car chase. But, you know, when I think of the French Connection, once again, French Connection cited as like the greatest car chase ever. But
is it? Maybe that's the question. Maybe that's the first question. Favorite car chase.
Favorite car chase.
What?
To Live and Die in LA.
Well, you left the 80s.
That was the 80s. 85.
Sorry.
85.
I'm a young man.
Best car chase.
No, why?
No, okay, so best
Gus Grissom and CSI.
That's not counting Gone in 60 Seconds.
If we're talking, okay, I think we need to redefine.
We need to stay focused.
85. Okay, so 80s car chases. I will give respect actually for a sequence. It's the film's only good thing, and it's once again ties in with canon. But Cobra has a great car chase.
It has got a good car chase.
Has a really good car chase with the Awesome 50. Stallone's pimped up a car.
Pimped up Cobra.
I think the difference between the 70s and 80s was what was going on socially as well. I think the 70s was more story driven, more character driven,
more intelligent.
More intelligent. And I think television had a lot to do with it, because in the 80s you were getting as much action on television as you were in any film.
Yeah.
So the film had to compete with TV.
Indeed, you know, I mean,
they had to compete with the 18.
And the Fall Guy and shows like that. Yeah,
well, I mean, you know, from the filmmaking side of things, you know, one of the things I had eventually discovered is like how long it actually takes to film a car chase.
Oh,
so I mean, you know, these are things that are only like 2 to 5 minutes on the screen, and you know, bombastic explosions, nuns, fruit stands.
But it's so wrong.
Yeah, you can't get it so wrong, but what they do, Hollywood does anyway, is they get it so right, because they spend a lot of time on the car chase. I mean, in the script, it's just one line, car chase, but in the movie, you know, you gotta spend days to actually get it right.
Oh wow! I mean, well, first of all, so you say time, and time is a luxury, as you know, and time and money, but. And also creativity. I think one of the key things for a good car chase is your environment. And there's nothing more annoying in any sort of chase, particularly a car chase, where you never get a sense of geography as well. And I hate that. I mean, particularly bringing this thing right up to date. You'll see lots of cases, etc. And you have absolutely no idea where, who, why, what is he upside down? This, that, you know.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I saw a film.
Except for in Ronin with Robert De Niro, even though that's the 80s, because the car goes backwards, you get.
I saw a film a couple of months back again, a film called Death Flash. Which is shocking. It's a terrible film. There was a car chase in the middle of it, which they basically go twice around the car park of an Asda. And it's that you would show that to somebody and then show them, you know, live and die in LA or something, and go, which one was the? It obviously got people around twice.
Okay, but I mean, but looking back at trying to steer this back on track. Looking back at the 80s, I think, as you said, we had the intelligence and the thrillers of the 70s movies, and they kind of got panned down. I think a big turning point even in US action was First Blood.
I think the big turning point in US action was Ronald Reagan.
Well, yeah.
Well, okay.
The whole thing, guns were good, guns were great.
Guns were good,
violence was great.
Yeah. But I mean, it's funny you brought up First Blood, because that was another movie that I saw the other night, or a clip of, when he breaks out of jail.
Yeah.
And actually, it starts out looking like he's in prison, because you were talking about David Caruso. You put the clip up. Starts out, so he's in prison, so it's in the middle, so you just put up the scene. But when he breaks out, I'm thinking, why is he fighting these cops? He can't get out of here, and he just runs out of like a prison, and it's in the middle of the city. What the hell is that about?
It's not exactly a city. It's a split small.
Well, it's a small. Well, he's only in the lockup. He's only in the police lockup.
It looked like a city to me.
They made it clear as well that there's some work going on.
As
well. So security is not exactly 100%.
That is very true.
You know, this guy's.
Let's
just paint the wall.
Yeah, so they try to save me, and I'm gonna break out.
Plus, they don't expect it. They've never had anything like that before.
Indeed.
They're a little town. They're a little, you know, bring this vagrant in. Who's he?
Yeah.
Rip his shirt off. Look at his scars. Shit, this guy's got a history. And they don't really know how much history the guy's got. But First Blood was a total.
First Blood, I mean, it was a complete game changer, and it's one of those movies where if anybody who didn't even like that kind of action adventure loved it. Absolutely loved it. You speak to most people to this day of a certain age, and you say to them, "What's your favourite Stallone movie?" And they won't say Rocky; they'll say The First Blood. And Rhinestone. I'm not stopped by Man Will Shoot, but you know.
Trying to stay back into the 80s. I mean, you know, because actually I'm running through in my head, and I'm thinking, when I said the question of favorite car chase, I'm thinking, man, I'm starting to hit, you know, First Connection, 7-Ups. Frankie and the Bean, or Freddie and the Freebie and the Bean. I said Frankie and the Bean. Freebie and the Bean. When the car like goes through the building and lands on the other side, and it's like hanging.
I find that movie a hard watch now. Really.
It is.
It probably is, just like Super Cops. But what I'm just trying to say is,
great.
No.
I'm not talking about his Super Cops with the guy. No, we're not talking about I'm not talking about that Super Cop. I'm talking about the one with Ron Liebman and the Bird Super Cop. David Selby.
It's a great movie. No. It's a great movie for us short guys. It's a great movie.
I thought you were going to say for us short guys who whine a lot.
No, because if he didn't stand on his toes, he would never have been chosen. And it's a great movie.
All right. Okay.
Anyway, we'll be back to the 80s.
We're still stuck in the 70s.
We're still stuck in the 70s. We're so freaking old, man. That's what it is.
Say that though with First Blood being an action movie. 48 Hours was made the same year, and that was sort of a...
I remember being in college at 40. You know what? I remember being in college watching 48 Hours, and you know when Eddie Murphy goes into the bar, you know, it's like somebody goes, "Hey, yeah, I have a black Russian," he's like, "Ha ha," and everything. And I went into a bar, and because I was in one of them like towns, you know, and I felt. I felt like Eddie Murphy after saying the only black guy in the bar. A lot. So anyway, I was just saying.
Take to a pub in Walton.
What?
Just take to a pub in Walton.
Walton was the first place I lived at.
Oh, there you go. There you.
Let's not go there.
Anyway.
So anyway, back to the 80s.
I mean, Walter Hill, who recently returned to us, and thank you, but he's seen as the granddaddy. The father.
Exactly, because I know we're talking 80s, but you've got to talk about The Driver and The Warriors.
Yeah, but once again, they're not movies that I immediately think of as action movies. They're great movies within themselves, but
no, I disagree. Because Walter Hill, first of all, I mean, his camera, you know, angles are very cinematic. I know it's up to a cinematographer, but as a director, you know,
that's
I mean, that fight in the bathroom. It's like phenomenal. So to say it's not an action film.
Well, no. What I'm saying is it has action in it, but doesn't having action in a movie doesn't.
That's the difference. That's the difference. Those films that just have action in them. The only action films you saw in the 60s and 70s were war films.
Yeah, exactly. War films. Yeah, blowing up bridges and
But then in the 80s, people picked guns up and went off on revenge rampage. That was the story.
I mean, looking back, it feels like
everybody asked me, "From America, did they carry guns?"
I mean, nowadays it's like, you know, we get a whole bunch of like second unit directors who become first, you know, they've stepped up and become, you know, directors themselves. Michael Bay being the example, being the example of that, where you know guys who are really good at sequences, and
well, that's their job.
And exactly, but the action genre is a bit like, and I don't want to make the equation, don't giggle. It's a bit like pornography. It's an excuse to show off.
Yeah.
Well, you know, whatever it is, and then, you know, it's like, well, how do we get from this scene to that scene, but we need to have a guy in a bus, and we need to flip the bus, and then and land on a nursery.
Yeah, but whoa. I mean, you know, it's the story. Don't denote or devalue the story element of doing second unit. I mean, like, you know, there is a story to all of that. The characters. I mean, when I said about the nuns, I mean, it's a joke, but it's true. You know, like in the car chase, we're figuring, okay, we need that moment where somebody across the street, we don't want to have the baby carriage, you know what I mean? So what can people go, oh, no, not the nuns, you know what I mean? Or some
my favorite,
run them down.
My favorite sequence in Predator is the actual raid. I think it's the best directed sequence, and it's the raid on the camp and whatnot. And it's done, and essentially, John McTiernan handed that whole sequence over to the second unit, and they came from the A team, and it's basically it was an excuse for them to do all the things they really would love to have done in the show, but the censors wouldn't. What the censors wouldn't allow. So not only have you got people blowing up and flying through, as they're in flight, they're catching on fire and things.
No, exactly. I mean, hey, that's one of those moments where the director takes credit for his crew. Well, you know.
But then again, so going back to the TV stuff, people needed to go to the cinema to see something bigger and louder. Bigger and louder. Wolf Street Talk, Hunter. All those kind of shows, which were cars flipped in every episode. There was 2 or 3 cars flipped. There was gunfights. There was everything. So you had to, if you were going to go to the cinema, it had to be bigger. It had to be bigger. It had to have the stars.
Nudity.
It had to give something.
Like the 80s, it had to have nudity too.
And it had to have the star. It had to have Stallone. It had to have
the single lone. You know, I mean, it's a displaced western, isn't it? It's that kind of like the lone hero who has to do the right thing, and
who has a strange accent.
Worked for both.
Yeah, no, exactly. So. I mean, alright, so we talked about the car chases, but in the 80s, when we talk about 80s action, that was also the high point of the 80s action hero, what you said.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, you know, so, I mean, we're talking about Chuck Norris, we were joking about Steven Seagal, you know.
He came quite late to the game, but yeah, he was there, and Michael
still was in the 80s, though.
Yeah, above the law.
I thought it was 88.
That was his only 80s film. Was above the law.
That's right. Because he was Hard to Kill was only 2 years.
Yeah.
Andrew Davis directed Hard to Kill. He directed Code Silence.
That's right. He also did it on the
Code Silence.
Code Silence is actually Charles. I would argue Charles.
Chuck Norris. He jumps off of a bridge onto a train, doesn't he?
Chuck Norris it's actually only really technically good movie.
Well, well,
I don't mean it's
he had all of the usual suspects of the the extras that are the extra cops who was in every movie. You know, the black one, the fat one, you know, all that other stuff.
But it was just something. It was just better direct.
No, but they were always in the cop scene.
Yeah.
So Chuck Norris actually wanted to prove himself as an actor because he came from Kung Fu, so he did the Return Way the Dragon. He did the bad guy with Florida and San Francisco. That's right. And then he started to make, before he started to do mission and action movies, he did like Good Guys Wear Black,
Octagon,
Formula One.
Eye for an Eye. So then Code of Silence was Chuck Norris saying, "Hey, look, I can act." You know?
Yeah, and once again, it's about having a director that's capable of having faith.
What's having a good director?
Yeah,
who knew his ability and knew what
Well, it felt a little bit like Remo Williams as I'm running it in my mind.
I think it is.
I know. It's just the texture of the film.
Remo is one of those movies where I absolutely loved it and I championed it. I read a couple of the Destroyer
Fred Ward.
Fred Ward should be the biggest movie star in the world.
Clicking between Remo and Chuck. Chuck owned the rights to Destroyer.
That's right.
He bought the rights.
Yeah.
And wanted to play it, but Cannon couldn't get the money. But Code of Silence was a Dirty Harry movie. It was written as Dennis Farina and Michael Shire wrote it, and they were.
So what?
Clint passed on because he didn't want to do a Dirty Harry movie.
Wait, he already did. So you mean Code of Silence came out before Dirty Harry?
Yeah, it came out. No,
that's what I like about Colin. He gets the timelines right. But
Code of Silence was made in '85, and that was going to be the next.
That was Dirty Harry 5.
Dirty Harry 5.
Oh, Dirty Harry 5. So he was doing Dirty Harry.
Yeah.
And so that was the storyline. So Code of Silence was one of the stories, like Deadpool or something like that, Sudden Impact.
Well, that's it.
And then he
didn't want to do another Dirty Harry film.
But he only really came back to do Deadpool to pay for White Hunter Black Heart.
Yeah.
So
well, he's smart. He's smart director.
We'll probably get around to being 80s. We'll get to
So action heroes we were talking about. So Chuck, so you say Seagal came later, but who else was out then?
Van Damme.
Van Damme. Yeah.
So Van Damme, what did he do? Bloodsport in the 80s?
He did No Shooter Surrender, Cyborg, Bloodsport, Kickboxer.
Cyborg. No, I mean, terrible movie but I mean, the trailer was awesome.
Yeah.
Especially that last shot where the guy is in the dark, he's like in the tunnel, and then he's like, oh, and he looks up, and then Van Damme doing his magic flip.
Didn't Cyborg start off as another movie that was supposed to be a sequel to?
No, I think you think about Cyborg 2.
It started off life as a sequel to Masters of the Universe.
No way.
Yeah. But they
See, the thing is with Cannon, going back to Cannon, it's got to be the 80s when it's about Cannon. With Cannon, they tried to, because they had a big star with Bronson and they had a big star with Norris, they were their two bankable stars. Lee Marvin doesn't count. They were their two bankable stars.
Right.
So Bronson was obviously getting old. Chuck,
obviously.
Chuck was sort of low, falling away. Yeah. Wish I was dead. Chuck was falling away. So they were desperately trying to find their next action star. Yeah. Michael Dudikoff. They already had their next action star. They didn't know. They had Steve James.
American
Steve James.
Steve James.
No, we just have like 5
No, he's only saying that because we're black.
No. Steve James got the worst ride ever in movie history. The guy he had everything. He had absolutely everything. He was a good-looking guy. He could act. He could act. That was the
Exterminator.
He could act. The soldier, calling the soldier with Glinken House.
He's one of the Delta Force.
Well, what do you think? What do you think went wrong? I mean, because do you think I'm going to Get You Sucker was the downfall for Steve?
No, I just don't think
it was funny.
I don't think Cannon had the balls to have a black action star.
Well, yeah, but
in the 80s.
But see, but like Steve James had that look of Black Dragon. Remember Ron Van Cleef?
Yeah.
And that never went anywhere. But I'm just trying to say is like you're right about that time frame. That Steve James, he was a good looking guy. He was big. He was buff. He's kind of like the Michael Jai White of his time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But why didn't he? Go over that hill?
I've got Chuck Norris's autobiography, and he talked a lot about them. They were really, really good mates in the Steve James.
Oh right, that's one.
He's in a lot of Chuck movies. He's in Hero of the Terror. Delta Force.
One and two.
Delta Force
2 as well. They're really good friends.
Strike
And Chuck said Steve James didn't really want to do that. He was happy to just play second fiddle to Michael Dudikoff in American Ninja or Chuck. And Chuck kept saying to him, "You could be a huge star." He said to Cannon, "This guy could be a huge star." Cannon were like,
No. Can he do him like Eddie Murphy?
"Can he make as much money as Eddie Murphy?"
We want an Eddie Murphy.
If you think he can, we can go to European Film Awards. We could get loads of money based on he could be next Eddie Murphy. We could make 99 extra films just on the back of that. That was my
Actually, we could make 2 and then cut them up.
Part 1, part 2, part 2. What was it back here?
Yeah, it's interesting, but that's an interesting point actually about the lack of black faces, black action stars,
especially in the 80s.
Well.
To be fair though, are you going to bring up Carl Weathers? Well, I was going to get to Carl via somebody else. There's one person who, to me, sums up 80s. He's the Walt Disney of action cinema. Okay, he's still around. He's still making a lot of noise. He hasn't changed one jot. He's actually more successful now than he ever has been, thanks to being behind the Matrix movies. God help us. But Joel Silver.
Oh, Joel.
Is just.
You thought he went Lawrence Fishburne, didn't you?
Hold on.
I thought that's where we go.
It's Joel Silver who championed. And he's received actually, he got NCAA awards.
Dude, I had nothing against Joel Silver. Joel Silver, you keep bringing up Cannon and Manhattan Golden, you got to bring up Joel Silver.
No, they were in totally different leagues. Joel Silver
is the top of the tree. Absolutely.
Well, Cannon at the bottom going, Can I just go back to black action stars? There was also a huge black action star in the mid-80s who could have been absolutely off the scale. You're not even...
Ken Foree?
No.
Yeah. For those watching, we just want to say Ken Foree.
Yeah.
Ken Foree? All right.
And if you ever get the chance to meet Ken Foree, make sure he's sitting down because you will not see the top of his head.
Go ahead. Who are you talking about?
Taimak.
Last Dragon. First of all,
the guy had
Last Dragon. Let me tell you.
He had the glow.
Let me tell you. He had the glow. You know.
I think
but he was the master. He had what?
I think he had incredible screen presence.
Hold on. You said he was the master. I think you'll find
shown up.
But you Rick James looking fool.
let me put it to this way. First of all, Last Dragon, amazing movie. Taimak though, I mean, who directed that? I know it was Dwight Schultz. Dwight Schultz, who did Coolie High, and he did all these other great. He's a black director as well. But
Halloween 5.
Anyway, I was trying to give him respect. I was trying to. My point was. Hold on. Yeah, Vanity is in it. My point was that like, Taimak, Dwight went completely in the wrong direction in Taimak's acting. I'm pretty sure Taimak is not really the character that he played, you know, that squeaky, kind of voice. But I think that Dwight felt that this movie was kind of Disney-fied, Berry Gordy's first and only movie, and I think that
in that genre.
Okay.
You're thinking Mahogany and Ladies.
I'm not thinking about. Okay, fine. All right, in that genre. But I think that they thought that they had. I think that they felt. I think it was bad choice in the acting. I don't think Taimak was strong enough, which is why Taimak was only a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. He definitely had. He didn't do anything else though.
No.
Because it was poorly directed in that film. Because he definitely had the look. He definitely had style. He had presence. How come he didn't do another movie? You know what I mean? Because that was good for him to do that, but I don't want him to do anything else.
It's one of those things where you watch somebody and you want to champion them, you want to scream and shout and nobody's listening. I've been talking about Fred Ward for over 30 years. The man should win every Oscar on the planet. He's he's just...
Yeah, he's pretty rugged, but he's like a Robert Forrest kind of rugged though. So Forster,
and that's Robert Forster. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, great actors, but they don't have the face. You know what I mean?
Why did Robert Forster did? I think, especially still staying in the 80s, Robert Forster was a huge star in the Alligator and Delta Force. He played the back guy in Delta Force. He was a big star.
Yeah.
But getting back to
back to what I was trying to say about the 80s action here when I said Carl Weathers, I wasn't talking about Apollo Creed. I was talking about
Action Jackson.
Action Jackson. That's what I was talking about.
Joe Silver.
That coming off Predator. and just before Die Hard as well. But once again, before we were filming, we were talking about the fact that Joel had his little ensemble of actors, and they would of character actors. So you'd have Robert Darby appearing in this, and he'd be a good guy in this movie, he'd be a bad guy in that movie.
Bill Duke was in one.
Yeah, Bill Duke played. Was Action Jackson's boss in that movie. You know,
became a great director in his own right.
He is a great, and doesn't do enough, frankly.
Well, no. If you think about it, I love talking about directing. Bill Duke is a smart director. He doesn't say, I'm a black director. He says, I'm a director. And he goes out to direct films, not black films.
Do you mean he's not Spike Lee?
Well, Spike doesn't make black movies.
He's not. Yeah, he doesn't anymore.
Well, no,
he did. You're right. You're right.
We'll have to give it to you. We'll have to give it to you on that one. Yes, he did.
But no. But Bill Duke, Cemetery Club, Hope Floats.
Yeah.
His whole thing was about I want to direct movies. Even though
like Tim
he did. Well, Tim's story is amazing. Even though I actually watched Fantastic Four the other day. I've been watching a lot of strange TV, but but I found myself watching it. At first, I thought I hated this movie. I'm not talking about the Silver Surfer. I'm talking about Fantastic Four. I actually
really like both Fantastic Four because it's about the tone. A little side note here, folks. It's the tone. It's the tone of those early Stanley.
I think people had a problem with Jessica Alba. Is that what you're gonna say? Because I think
not really. I have one complaint though about both those movies, and it's to do with Mr. Fantastic, and it's the lack of sound effect of when he stretched. I wanted to hear that cartoon.
I don't know, man. You talk the cartoon. I don't know why you want to hear that, but
because I got to.
Anyway, great special effects. Great special effects.
50 goals.
Yeah, well, we were talking about Carl Weathers, and then we moved to Tim Story and then back out of
Getting back to First Blood, though, as a game changer, and then we'll move on to John. I think First Blood was a game changer. And
First Blood is...
You can tell straight away by the amount of low-budget rip-offs. Yeah. That's the testament to the movie that came straight after in the same way.
Not just American.
Post Mad Max, you've got like all these Italian sort of post-apocalyptic movies or whatever,
There's an Italian series called Thunder. Thunder 1, Thunder 2, Thunder 3, which are direct rip-offs of First Blood, but instead of using an American Indian.
One of my favorite rip-offs is a female taker called Silk.
Silk?
And with the great line, why are you called Silk? Because I'm so damn smooth.
Okay. Well, my rip-off of First Blood was Derek Benedict in Ruckus.
Ruckus is a great
I tried to tell them about Linda Blair.
Silent Assassins?
No.
Linda Blair?
No, Sweet Hostage with Linda Blair.
This is Savage Streets.
Savage Streets.
Yeah.
I don't know.
These are lower rent on the market.
Hey, at least I didn't say change heat.
But this is the thing.
Linda Blair.
This is the... Oh, that was so... Sybil Danning in that as well?
In Change Heat?
Yeah,
she was in Change Heat.
The thing about First Blood as well, it came out at the time when video was boom. Video was big.
Yes.
And people then started making films that they knew would... Video was the 80s equivalent to the 70s driving.
Yeah.
They made films for it that they thought, this film's never going to get a cinema release, but it'll do okay on video. This is how Chuck Norris made his name. Huge on video.
Well, I don't think people knew that at the time. I think they fell into it at the time.
Yeah. But then
but they also did, I mean, Chuck and Cannon made their money basically in things like the Far East markets and stuff like that. I mean, that's...
But that was the only decent thing Cannon did, that they knew once their film started, they never had a huge hit, Cannon.
No.
I know Invasion USA went to #1 and Delta Force.
Yeah.
They were #1 for like
a
2 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
They fell off the chart completely. And they never had a huge hit. Never.
Superman.
No.
That made about $75.
Yeah. Huge. They never had a hit. Wow. They took a hit on every film they ever made.
Wow.
But when the video market came in, they thought, ooh, we could resell stuff that wasn't a hit here.
Get our money back. Yeah.
They were bad management. They couldn't do anything right.
Yeah, but they were like, they tried their best. I mean, they were actually film fans.
If you were Chuck
Norris. You think they were film fans though?
No, they were money fans.
Money fans who knew about film though. I didn't say they were great filmmakers, but film fans. They had to have a love for the movies that they were making.
Entertaining people. Yeah, that's what they were fans of entertaining people. Now,
what entertains them probably entertains others.
Yeah, and I want to have a word said against them in that respect. Whether they were capable filmmakers is a whole different thing.
Well, no. Yeah, that's what you're saying. They weren't capable. That's what you're saying. They weren't capable filmmakers. But that's where, in that time, film was all about the money. It was all about it's like the Ed Wood's philosophy. It was all about they got the money.
Could buy credibility.
Yeah. There you go. That's a very good way of looking at it.
They felt they could buy credibility, and you just can't. No. You make good movies. Just because you make Chuck Norris movie next, and then you make a Norman Mailer, Dead Men Don't Die.
But you can see how drunk they were when it came to
plaid.
No, that's Steve Martin. What's the Tough Guys Don't Dance.
Tough Guys Don't Dance.
Which is a great movie, but it's like, well, we made all these movies, but these ones we really want to make. Bullshit.
See, the thing is, talking about Chuck Norris, this is how bad they were in terms of thinking what they had. They made Missing in Action, a one-off with Chuck. Fine.
Yeah. 1 year before first Rambo Part 2, by the way.
Made Missing in Action 2 back to back. They really 2 was first, and 1 was second, but they got released second. So, does that make sense? Yeah. Missing in Action 2 was made before Missing in Action 1.
Hence they redubbed it Missing in Action the beginning.
It's actually made before 1.
It's actually made before 1. Yeah.
You know
it's actually the better film.
That's clever. That's clever.
So, it wasn't clever for Cannon. So Cannon made those 2 films on a private show, and Manhattan and Yoram Globus, being huge film fans as they are, went, wow. This is the great escape of the 80s. Yeah. So Manhattan Golan says to Yoram Globus, we need to grab up this Chuck Norris. We need to seal him down. So the following day, they made Chuck Norris an offer of $22 million for a 7-picture deal. And Chuck Norris went,
given the way the studio system was defunct and had been for like nearly 30 years. You know, the idea of signing somebody to a long-term contract.
Ridiculous.
And
Chuck Norris
that's when his brother becomes a stunt coordinator and.
Chuck Norris is a B-movie star. To give him 20.
Yeah, but you know what? You got to give him his due. First of all, we're looking back at the career, and we're not. Wait. But what I'm trying to say is, at the time, he wasn't a B-movie star. We actually loved Chuck.
No, he was a B-movie star.
No. What I'm trying to say, he had his hat off. I'm trying to say, at the time, we loved Chuck.
Yeah.
Every movie Chuck coming out, and we're gonna go see.
Yeah. Well,
Silent Rage,
not necessarily.
You Guys Wear Black. We're gonna go see it. You know what I mean?
But then you've got the added advantage of growing up of being in the States at that time. Yeah. A lot of the Chuck movies were never released theatrically over here.
So Lobo from Queen was the first theatrical release that he ever.
No. Force of One, my brother went to see it.
Did it?
Yeah.
It probably wasn't a big, huge.
No, because I distinctly remember the poster of my
Lobo from Queen was the first.
Triangle,
it was on everywhere. Lobo. It was on everywhere. It was his first major studio.
Orion Pictures. Yeah.
I think Columbia made Silent Rage.
That's another big company though at the time with Orion Pictures.
Yeah, they were trying to do Robocop.
Oh well.
Trying to be.
I mean, their last.
You recognize their name. When it comes up with something.
They only survived. Orion really got a leg up though via Warner Brothers. Because Warner's distributed a lot of their stuff in the early '80s. You know, and Warner's put their name on everything. Yeah.
Well, yeah. But what about like '80s women? What do we like about that?
Action stars.
Action stars, just one.
Just one.
Miss Chandler O'Brien.
Miss Chandler O'Brien herself, Miss Rothrock.
Cynthia Rothrock. Oh, she was hot. But I mean, like,
Each of them.
Taught by Chuck Norris.
Taught by Chuck Norris, indeed.
Well, I thought it was Richard Norton. But like,
many movie with Richard Norton.
Taught by Chuck Norris.
But I mean, there was no. I'm trying to think because women weren't doing action stars besides the kung fu thing. But because V.I. Wachowski.
That was the 90s.
Okay, wasn't it?
That was very good.
Scraping the bottle.
I'm trying to be respectful. And say, let's not ignore our ladies.
Okay. You could argue with things like Sigourney Weaver and Aliens. Is that an action film?
Or Alien?
No, Aliens.
I think Aliens is an action film.
Exactly. Aliens is an action film.
It is an action film. It's a war movie.
Yeah,
it's a war movie.
Well, it is. So you got her. Anybody else then?
Top of my head, really, we're pushing. The fact that we're having to do this,
man, you can't.
Between the three of us, we can tell you who swept the floor and what movie.
I know exactly. You can't tell me you're something action heroine
outside the martial arts sort of arena. There really isn't. Okay, prior to that, Linda Blair. Okay, yeah.
Made more than one.
What do you mean, Chained Heat?
Savage Street, Silence Assassin, Double Champion.
But she wasn't the hero though.
Savage Street she
Well,
was. Savage Street she was.
What's
like
that one? Angel?
I don't remember.
Angel,
yeah.
Angel of Vengeance.
Yeah, that's right. Dick Shaw's in one.
Miss 45.
Miss 45 is a great.
All right, see, look at that. I finally said something that didn't agree with. I knew
Probably able
Women-
for honest best film of the 80s.
Women suffered the
because
same.
of the female death wish, by the way.
It was a female death.
Women suffered the same sort of the hassles that say a lot of black performers, male black performers.
Well, I was just going to say.
A lot of sidekicks, a lot of comic relief.
Yeah.
You've got
a lot of sex and nudity
Carrie
because that was
Snodgrass
popular.
in Murphy's Law, which is whatnot. She's basically the comic relief and whatnot. You've got Red Dawn Chong in Commando. Yes, we all rose lead to Commando.
We will get to Commando in a minute.
Guys, Commando's coming. It is coming. Okay, but you know what I'm saying? You know.
I thought you said Commando.
Commando.
It's a Commando.
Come on.
Let's say, so women had the same bad things given to them as Steve James did.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
You don't want to give them a
second fiddle. But all right, so like when you say Commando, of course, what you really actually trying to say is
before we go to Commando and stay on the subject of Cynthia Rothrock.
Okay, yeah.
Robert Klaus, who directed Enter the Dragon,
Batman.
Battle Creek Brawl with Jackie Chan, Force 5, Richard Norton, Benny Quanders, or every other martial artist you can ever think of, China O'Brien. The guy's got to be given a little bit of credit in that.
And on top of everything else,
well,
a lot of directors.
He kind of disappeared in the whole swim thing.
He died. Yeah. A lot of
this is why you disappear.
Robert Klaus, he had apparently he was deaf as a post.
Jim Carter.
But his movies, if they're allowed a decent director of photography, his movies always looked great. And to me, personally, that's a leg up. Yeah. It's a leg up. He knew how to use the good teeth.
I know it's not an 80s film, but you look at the look of Enter the Dragon.
Stands up with everything else.
Still now.
He knew how to use a 2.235 frame, which is a lot of filmmakers. It's their downfall. They think, oh, we can just make it wide. Yeah, but how do you actually use the frame?
He also made, I know it's still 80s, but we've got to mention Black Belt Jones because he made Black Belt Jones. and the sequel,
Jim Kelly.
Hot
The
Potato.
sequel, Hot Potato. Which is a good film. So that's enough on Robert Klaus.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyway, in 1985, Arnold Schwarzenegger made this really silly film.
Which at the time...
Directed by Mark L. Lester, who'd just come off Firestarter.
No, he'd just come off Class of 1984.
No, that was before Firestarter.
Was it? Well, okay, Fight.
Before
Fight. Go ahead.
Commando?
Just come up, yeah.
Mark Lester's best looking film.
Commando was actually, like when I first started editing, when I wanted to get into this business of filmmaking, Commando was the first film I actually edited into like a montage.
Okay.
And everything else like that, and I mean, classic film, but for me, that's what...
Actually, out of the 80s, if you're going to show somebody two action films of the 80s to somebody, show them First Blood and you show them Commando.
Indeed.
Commando's the ultimate...
First Blood is the credible.
Yeah.
It's the one you think, this is actually a good figure. It's not a good action movie, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Whereas Commando is like, I don't know, it's just...
I think the thing about Commando is that it was like a comic book.
Exactly.
The best thing about Commando is that
it was very short and quick. It was very short and quick.
At the time, it was being compared. Obviously, people were saying, "Well, it's just like a Rambo knockoff or something." It's not at all. They were both in production at pretty much the same time. Joel Silver knew exactly what it was doing. It was Joel Silver's first proper breakout hit. He'd already had the hit with 48 Hours, but this was the first of his kind of put the stamp.
Did you do Streets of Fire?
Yes, he did do Street Fighter, but Street Fighter had bombed. It bombed. It
did bomb.
It was a huge. It was
actually a bloody good film.
It's a great little gem.
I think it's because you like the music.
My wife's favourite movie.
Everything about it, I just think it's totally original.
And you got Dan Hartman doing tunes on it. What more could you ask for?
I can dream about it.
Ian did. Well, you got some black guy miming it.
Badly.
But getting back to Commando, though, a lot of people said once it came out, thinking, actually, no, well, hold on a minute, this is a lot more fun than I was expecting.
Yeah,
and a lot of people compared it. It's more like James Bond than Rambo.
Yeah, but what do you think that it was more like of his breakout, because even though he did Terminator and everything else like that, it was kind of like, oh, okay, who is this big guy? But I mean, it was like he had some kind of plastic surgery or makeover, because he looks different from Hercules.
I think it's
Stay Hungry.
Yeah. I know James Cameron's a good director, but I think Commando brings him off better.
No, I know. That's what I'm trying to say. Commando was a breakout. But what I'm trying to say is, like, he did Terminator before Commando. But what I'm trying to say is that his face looked different.
Well,
you know.
He's slimmer.
Like a robot.
He's slimmer.
And he had all his prosthetic. He had all his prosthetic on his face.
He's less bulky in Commando, but he's clearly more defined. He's more defined.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. He was cut.
But also,
that's why he broke out.
The lighting of that movie, it's actually atypical of the era where they were using very cheap films. I mean, Kodak film stock.
Talking about James Cameron's
No, I'm talking about Commando. It's harsh lighting throughout the entire movie. There's nothing hidden. There's nothing subtle about it.
There's only one night scene in it when they raid it.
When they raided it, exactly. Yeah, and of course when the I lied. And we didn't see the wire at all.
I love the the gas squad in there, like when the yellow car crashes into the pole, and it's all dented, and then when they go back to the car, it's like pristine and clean when he drives away.
I love the fact that they crash the car, and immediately, instead of flying through the windscreen or whatever and being whatever, he's just, are you all right? Are you okay?
Are you okay? No, and then he pushes the car over. Now we can go.
The scene in the mall.
Oh,
the scene in the mall
was excellent.
Absolutely super.
The scene in the mall was excellent. I love that. You know, the way you get like down, like there's all like 7 security guards in one mall.
But that made Arnold boom. That was his.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Conan made him a movie star. Terminator made him the name we are today. But Commando is the movie that maintained it. That they actually kept, right through to making those god awful ones in the 90s. You know.
Actually,
he made his best film, I think, right after that, which was Raw Deal.
Raw Deal. Raw Deal. The acting in that. What is it? The Night Stalker, the guy. The guy who played the Night Stalker, who was this.
I don't know what you mean. Yeah.
I know. See, look at that.
Kolchak.
Kolchak. Yeah.
What's his name? Darren McGavin.
Darren McGavin.
But it's like I can accept like silliness to a point.
I think it's better than Running Man. Come on.
Not even Yaphet.
Richard Dawson.
Not even Yaphet could save it.
But alright, so like when you say Commando, of course, what you really actually trying to say is...
Before we go to Commando and stay on the subject of City Robbery.
Okay, yeah.
Robert Klaus, who directed Enter the Dragon,
Batman.
Battle Creek Brawl with Jackie Chan, Force 5, Richard Norton, Benedict Wonders, or every other martial artist you can ever think of, China O'Brien. The guy's got to be given a little bit of credit in that.
And on top of everything else, a lot of directors.
He kind of disappeared in the whole swell of thing.
He died. Yeah.
This is why you disappear.
Robert Klaus, he had an eye. Apparently, he was deaf as a post.
Jim Carrey.
But his movies, if they're allowed a decent director of photography, his movies always looked great. And to me, personally, that
5-year leg up.
It's a leg up. He knew how to use the good teeth.
I know it's not an 80s film, but you look at the look of Enter the Dragon.
It stands up with everything else.
Still down.
He knew how to use a 2.235 frame, which is a lot of filmmakers, it's their downfall. They think, oh, we can just make it wide. Yeah, but how do you actually use the frame?
He also made, I know it's still 80s, but we've got to mention Black Belt Jones because he made Black Belt Jones. And the sequel,
Jim Kelly.
Hot
The
Potato!
sequel, Hot Potato, which is a good thing. So that's enough on Robert Klaus.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyway, in 1985, Arnold Schwarzenegger made this really silly film.
Which at the time...
Directed by Mark L. Lester, who'd just come off Firestarter.
No, he'd just come off Class of 1984.
No, that was before Firestarter.
Was it? Well, okay, Fight.
Fight. Go ahead. Commando?
Just come up, yeah. He made
Commando was actually, like when I first started editing, when I wanted to get into this business of filmmaking, Commando was the first film I actually edited into like a montage.
Okay.
And everything else like that, and I mean, classic film, but for me, that's what...
Actually, out of the 80s, if you're going to show somebody 2 action films of the 80s to somebody, you show them First Blood and you show them Commando.
Indeed.
Commando's the ultimate.
First Blood is the credible.
Yeah.
It's the one you think, this is actually a good figure. It's not a good action movie, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Whereas Commando is like, I don't know, it's just...
I think the thing about Commando is that it was like a comic book.
Exactly.
The best thing about
And
Commando was that it knows
very
what
short
it
and
is.
quick. It was very short and quick
At the
scenes.
time, it was being compared. Obviously, people were saying, "Well, it's just like a Rambo knockoff or something." It's not at all. They were both in production at pretty much the same time. Joel Silver knew exactly what he was doing. It was Joel Silver's first proper breakout hit. He'd already had the hit with 48 Hours, but this was the first of so many different leads. It was Patrick Swayze. It was going to be Christopher Reeve at one point. It was going to be Dolph Lundgren at one point.
Christopher Reeve.
Yeah, Christopher Reeve.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah.
Indeed, you know, it would have been super.
No, like for the wife, so I gotta go.
Okay.
I'm trying to make it short, I know.
Okay.
But you know, hey.
We have left out one though. We have left out one, and it's
Okay.
right at the end.
Okay, what?
1989.
Yes, sir.
The summer of '89. I was in the US, and I was at the Lowe's Theatre United Arts Theatre in Miami, and I'd just seen Lethal Weapon 2. It just opened.
You never even mentioned it.
These weapons, well, it comes under the Joel
Joel
banner.
Silver.
Comes under the Joel banner. Okay, it's the final. And we saw a poster, and it said "coming in 3 weeks' time" or something like that. And there he was, leaning. It was a big cardboard standee, this big, leaning up against the bar, Mr. Patrick Swayze.
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse. To me,
Good.
now it's not my favourite Joel Silver movie. That came in 1991, and it's better than Commando. And that will be The Last Boy Scout, but that's another conversation.
Bruce Willis and the Last Boy Scout.
But
Dang Williams.
what's his name? But Roadhouse itself, to me, it just had everything. It had
Roadhouse is a
everything.
great film. Roadhouse is a
Everything.
great film.
Patrick Swayze was the man. Rip Patrick Swayze. Sorry, fellas, that we had to
Well,
cut this
right
one
up.
short and everything like that. You know, maybe 80. Shut up.
Hold on, don't turn it off. I can't believe we're about talking about 80s action heroes and he gets to talk about the
Shut up.